Good afternoon. We'll get started here in a few minutes once everyone gets on, hopefully around 2 o'clock. We'll get started here in a few minutes, letting a few more people get admitted.
I don't know if you're trying to talk, Samantha, but you're muted. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you so much. So I don't even remember what I was saying. I think something along the lines of thank you all for coming today. If I see anyone else in the waiting room, I will let them in, but we're going to go ahead and get started for the sake of time. I do want to mention that the meeting is being recorded. So if someone is not able to come today, they can watch the recording of the session and get the information that way. So at any time, it's pretty informal. We have a small group here. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask them, or you can put them in the chat if you're more comfortable with that. So we will get started. All right, so today we're going to talk about both the ACT and the Praxis exams as fulfilling requirements for your teaching education courses. There we go. My name is Sam Mallory. I'm the director of the Learning Resource Center, and then AJ Thompson is also presenting with me today. She is an academic advisor. And AJ, you work mostly with College of Ed students, is that right?
That's correct. So yep, any of our students who are interested in becoming an education or special education major, you guys may be assigned to me, or you at least will see my face kind of around the college.
And AJ is awesome. She's very helpful. We're both happy to help you with any questions that you have about the Praxis or ACT or anything else that you may need assistance with. So feel free to reach out at any time. So today we're going to be covering the what's and whys of the ACT and the Praxis, what test anxiety is and practices to control it, and then study and test strategies as well. So what is the ACT and why do we take it? Most of you are probably familiar with the ACT from high school. It's an entrance exam used by most colleges and universities to make admissions decisions. Usually that is a comprehensive effort. So it includes your high school GPA and high school classes when admission decisions are made. It's a multiple choice pencil and paper test, and the purpose is to measure a high school student's readiness for college. In this case, a lot of you are already in college, and it's measuring your capacity to enter the teacher education program at Austin Peay State University or to continue in it. So what is on the ACT? It covers English. So it has 75 questions regarding English, and you have 45 minutes to complete that section. It has specifics like usage, mechanics and rhetorical skills, as well as grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. And then bigger ideas like style and organization as well. You also have a math portion of the ACT, and that has 60 questions. You do have a little more time for that since you have to work through those problems. And it covers a variety of math topics. So pre-algebra, elementary algebra, intermediate, coordinate geometry, plane geometry, and trigonometry. So mostly your algebra and geometry classes from high school. You also have a reading session that is going to cover your comprehension. And it includes humanities, literacy fiction, natural sciences, social sciences, a variety of topics to see how you are understanding what you're reading. And then finally, there is a science section, and it has 40 questions and 35 minutes to complete that. It includes knowledge of scientific skills, data analysis, hypothesis evaluation, and summarizing research. We will touch on this a little bit more, but the Praxis does not have a science section, so that's one of the main differences between the ACT and Praxis when you're trying to make a decision about which test to take. Okay. There we go. And then finally, there is a writing section of the ACT. It is optional. It's not required for the College of Education milestones, so you do not have to sign up for that if you decide that you're going to take the ACT. If you do want to, it's one prompt and there's 40 minutes to complete that section. So it's going to cover ideas and comprehension, development and support, organization, language use, and conventions. So some overall info for you to know. The exam takes a total of 2 hours and 55 minutes. It's an additional 40 minutes if you're doing the writing section. The cost without the writing is going to be $50, and with writing it's $67. Maximum score is 36, and the average score is usually around 21. And you'll receive your exam scores about 2 weeks after that exam. All right, so the Praxis is your other option. It measures academic skills and subject-specific content knowledge needed for teaching. It's very similar to the ACT in that it assesses a wide range of knowledge that you may have about different areas. So the Praxis core tests are delivered on a computer. If you remember, the ACT test questions are delivered through paper and pencil. So the Praxis test is on a computer, but it also includes objective response questions. So single selection or multiple selection questions, as well as numeric entry. The Praxis core writing test also includes 2 essay sections. And those are required if you take the Praxis. So you don't have to take the science portion of the exam, but if you take the Praxis, you do have to participate in the writing section, unlike the ACT. So you have a math section with 56 questions and 90 minutes to complete it, a reading section with 56 questions and 85 minutes to complete that. And those are similar to the ACT in terms of the content that they cover. And then writing, you've got 40 questions and 2 essays and 40 minutes to complete that. The core writing test assesses both argumentative writing and informative/explanatory writing. So you want to be familiar with both kinds of writing styles. The total time for the combined test is going to be about 4.5 hours. So if you remember, the ACT without a writing section was about 3 hours. The Praxis is going to be a lot longer. Timing and score requirements. I think we were going to have AJ talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, so when we're kind of figuring out which assessment is the best for you, ultimately, it's going to come down to what you feel is your pace of things. I always encourage you to talk with your advisor, whether that's me or someone else that you might be assigned to, depending on your major, to figure out what might be in your best interest when it comes down to maybe areas that you feel strong in. As Sam was saying, you know, the ACT does have that science component. So maybe if you're someone who is a little bit iffy on science, even after taking some science courses here at Austin P, then that can kind of come down into determining that factor of what you want to take. It also can be that the timing of it as well. As Sam had said, the ACT is a lot shorter than the Praxis. However, the Praxis does give you more time on the questions than the ACT. So those are also some things to kind of keep into consideration. Why you are here today, the big, you know, why am I taking this ACT or the Praxis? It's ultimately coming down to your transition point requirements, which used to be called milestones. So you may hear faculty say milestone or transition point, just know they're kind of the same thing. To enter that teacher education program, students need, as the screen shows, either a minimum ACT score of a 21 or higher, or the minimum Praxis core scores for reading, math, and writing. So if you have a lot of test anxiety, I encourage you to share that with your advisor, because that may make a difference when we're planning on when you're going to take your first assessment. As this screen kind of shows, the Praxis you can retake sooner. It's only 35 days, whereas the ACT it's 60 days. And that's going to make a big difference when we need to meet your transition point 2 by a certain time frame. So just make sure you're kind of aware that this is a requirement that you will have, letting your advisor know how you feel about it, if it's something that's really stressing you out or something that you feel like, you know, with proper resources and preparation that you feel comfortable with. So that way we can just work to ensure that you are ultimately meeting that minimum score when you need to by. I think that's what I have, Sam.
Okay, thanks, AJ. Let's see. So the next thing that we're going to touch on includes cost and test locations. So you actually have one other option in terms of the tests that you take. The ACT residual, you can take on campus at Austin P, and it's scheduled through the Austin P Testing Center. But just keep in mind that if you take the test, the ACT residual, the scores won't transfer to another institution. So as long as you're planning to stay at Austin P, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. But if you think that you might at some point transfer, just something to keep in mind. And it would be $60 to take that test. The Praxis is offered at the Sylvan Learning Center, which is near campus, and it's scheduled online through ETS. So it's $150 to complete all sections at once, or if you decide that you'd rather split them up and take them individually, it's $90 per section. An important thing to keep in mind is that a fee waiver is available depending on your financial need. So you would provide the information listed there. So it's basically your FAFSA, showing your estimated family contribution. And I'm going to provide a handout through your email after this meeting, and I'll include the link for applying for that waiver there in case that's the path that you prefer to take. The other thing to keep in mind if you schedule the Praxis is that there is a fee to reschedule the test date or location, and that if you cancel, you may only receive a 50% refund. So good things to keep in mind. And then the ACT over here, if you take the full ACT with no writing, it's $55, and that will transfer to other institutions. So it's really up to you what you think will work best for you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about test anxiety. It's possible for most of the people who are watching this or who may end up watching the recording that you actually do pretty well in your classes, but maybe your test score on the ACT is not very reflective of that because you do have a little bit of test anxiety. So hopefully if we discuss some of these strategies, you'll go into the test feeling a little bit more confident and able to perform where you should be. So test anxiety is a physiological condition in which people experience extreme stress, anxiety, and discomfort during and before taking a test. So that includes fidgeting, butterflies in your stomach, a quickened heart rate, rapid breathing, nausea, sweating, headaches, and stomach aches. So everybody gets a little bit nervous before taking a test, but if you feel like you have some symptoms like this that are a little bit more severe, then you may have some trouble with test anxiety. People with test anxiety tend to have a lot of negative thoughts about failing or not performing well on the test. And they worry excessively, which interferes with their ability to do well. So instead of being able to focus on the questions at hand, they're worried about how the outcomes of the test will impact them. You may have trouble concentrating and be distracted by noise. If someone is, tapping their pencil or clearing their throat, that can really distract you from your work. You may have trouble remembering what you studied, so that anxiety gets in the way of recalling the information that you need, unable to keep your mind on the test, or maybe you're worried that other people are scoring higher than you and that you're not smart enough. So again, it's that confidence level there as well. So just reaffirming with yourself that you do have the ability to do well on it. Test anxiety and how to control it before the exam. So these are just things to strive toward. Number one is don't be negative. So it's easy to get caught up in those negative thoughts, but just be aware of them and challenge them with logic. So if you feel like, maybe I'm not going to do well on this test or I'm not smart, just remind yourself, I've done well in these classes. I wouldn't be in this program if I wasn't smart, just sort of reaffirming those things for yourself. So you approach it with a little bit more confidence. View the exam as an opportunity to show how much you've studied and to receive a reward for all the studying that you've done. So rather than viewing it as a punishment or something that you have to do, maybe think, well, if I do well, or if I get the score that I want on this, not only is it going to open doors for me, but maybe I'll find a way to celebrate as well to make it a little bit more fun. Number two is relax and breathe. So just make sure to relax your muscles and breathe, inhale and exhale to a count of 5. And as you do this, you'll receive more oxygen, thus relaxing you and helping to reactivate your memory. Other things that you might notice, relax your shoulders. So a lot of times we hold tension in our shoulders and in our mouths and our faces. So be sure to relax all of your muscles when you're sitting in that, waiting to take your test. The best thing too is to organize and prepare. So the more time that you spend with a study plan of attack, the better you're going to feel on test day because you feel like you've done what you need to do in order to get ready for it. So organize yourself mentally and physically. Develop a schedule by making deadlines and exam dates on a calendar. Be realistic about how much material you can study in one sitting, and then schedule short study sessions rather than longer ones. So if your test is 2 months out, maybe study every other night or every 3 nights for a half hour rather than cramming it in the week before the test. That'll also give you a chance to figure out areas that you might be weaker in. If you find out that you have a whole section that you're not comfortable with and it's the night before the test, that can be very nerve-wracking. But if you find it out a month in advance, you have time to schedule with a tutor or take some more practiced exams. So what to do during the exam? Make sure that you're reading the directions carefully. I don't think that these tests usually try to trick you, but just make sure that you slow down, look at words that are underlined or bolded when they're trying to tell you what you should be answering. Change positions to help you relax. If you feel anxious, practice your relaxation techniques that we discussed. So breathing, relaxing your body. Skip a question if you don't know it or if you go blank. And then focus your attention on the test. So don't waste time thinking about not doing well or wondering what others are doing. Just focus on it one question at a time. Don't panic if others finish before you. There's no reward for finishing first. I think we've all experienced that when we're taking a test and everyone's walking up to the front of the room and turning in their papers, and how nerve-wracking that is. But, you know, as long as you're within your time limit, it's fine. Don't worry if other people are finishing before you. For essay exams, which you would need to do for the Praxis, but you don't need to do for the ACT, organize your thoughts in an outline. So start with a short summary or sentence and then make your points. For objective exams, think about your own answer first before looking at the choices. Especially on math or science problems, try to work it out, maybe cover up the multiple choice answers, and then see if the answer that you get matches those rather than trying to guess at it. So eliminate wrong answers and then make a guess, and think about only one question at a time, and then review your answers if time permits at the end of the exam. If time's running out, concentrate on the questions that you know well. So, and then if you do have time left over, use that for reviewing your answers. So we're also going to talk about some test and study strategies to help you succeed. So like we talked about before, give yourself enough time to study and plan for the exam, and be sure to organize your study space. So make sure that you have somewhere quiet to go. If your house is noisy, if you have a lot of siblings or pets that make a lot of noise and distract you, see if you can't find a place on campus like the library that would be quiet and that you can get tucked away and just focus. Use older materials or exams to help you study. So the handout that I give you after this is going to include some materials that you can use. And also there are some resources through the College of Ed where you can pick up some practice books that are on there. Be sure to try to explain the materials to others. So a study group is a great way to go through the same questions. You'll probably be strong in some areas that other people are weak, and vice versa. So you can help each other out on problems that you're not familiar with. So make sure you know what your learning style is. And, you know, a thing to keep in mind is sometimes people get a little bit, I don't know, sort of stuck on their learning style. So if you feel like, well, I'm a kinesthetic learner, so if I'm not physically doing something, I'm not going to learn it. That's not necessarily the case. So you may learn more quickly or more easily doing something with your hands, but that doesn't mean that you can't also learn by listening or by seeing. So use your learning styles to your advantage, but don't get too hung up on them and feel like you can't learn in other ways as well. Make sure to take regular study breaks. So every 45 minutes, maybe take a 15-minute break. If you try to do a marathon of like a 2-hour study session and don't take any breaks, it can be exhausting and you can get burnt out. And then don't forget to eat healthy foods and hydrate. So make sure that you're eating whole grains, lean proteins, things that are going to fill you up, not something that's going to give you a sugar high that you'll crash from. And then finally, schedule an appointment with a Learning Resource Center or a Writing Center tutor. Our tutors are here to help you. So I'm over the Learning Resource Center, and our tutors can help with math and science. And then we also have a writing center, and those tutors can help you with reading and writing sections of your tests, so to prepare for those. So like we're doing right now, familiarize yourself with the test. We've gone over the content on there, but you can always look at the website and the handout that I give you to see specifically what kinds of questions will be on there. Again, answer those easy questions first. So if you're skimming through a math section and you're really good at algebra, but you're not great at geometry, go ahead and start with those algebra questions and come back to the geometry ones. Write in your book, but don't write on your answer sheet. So stray marks on your answer sheet on the ACT can mess you up. But if you're writing in your book, that's really good. You can annotate, you can underline, it helps you comprehend what you're reading and what you're answering. And then there's only one correct answer to each question, so that's helpful. Easy questions usually precede the hard ones, so hopefully that'll build your confidence when you get started. And then again, make sure you budget your time. So if you know that there are 75 questions on a 45-minute session, think about, okay, so about halfway through, at about 20 minutes, I should have about 35 questions done. And then just sort of keep an eye on that and see if you need to slow down or you can speed up. Read each question carefully, and then don't change your answers unless you're sure that you've made a mistake. Usually your first instinct is going to be the correct answer. Similarly for the Praxis, we know what the test covers, and then there are also free Praxis study companions that are online that you can review, and then reassess how well you know the content. So this says research has shown that test takers tend to overestimate their preparedness. So this is why you might feel like you've done well on a test and then find out that you didn't pass. So that's a really good reason to practice the answers with practice exams and actually assess how well you know the material versus just assuming. And then collect those study materials. So here's the information for the Learning Resource Center. We're open from Monday through Friday from 8 until 6. We close a couple hours early on Fridays at 4 o'clock. Our website is listed there. So it's just apsu.edu with LRC at the end. We've got our phone number and our email, which are also on our website. And we offer free tutoring to Austin Peay students. So we also have a resource called Academia, which is our scheduling software, and I've included that on the handout. So you can go there and schedule your appointment that way. When you go to pick, it's really you go to pick a class, but then you'll see ACT math prep or Praxis math prep, and then you can schedule the appointment that way. And then the Writing Center is located in the Woodward Library. They are actually currently operating totally remotely due to COVID, but you can make a virtual tutoring session with them and they will be more than happy to help you. So their website's there as well, apsu.edu/writing center, and their phone number and email are listed there. It's also free, and they can help you with reading and writing sections of the test. And just a good idea for things to bring to tutoring. Go ahead and take a practice test and then bring your missed questions with you. Or if you're going to do the Praxis and you need to complete the essay parts, go ahead and write an essay and actually time yourself and bring that with you when you meet with a tutor. And so they can go over how to improve your organization or your writing. Or, flashcards, if you need to be familiar with science terms on the ACT, you can bring those with you just to get, sort of become more familiar with that content. So that concludes the information that I have to offer, but we are open to questions and I would love to know how we can support you. So feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can type it in the chat.
So the Writing Center, do we just go in and just ask like what can we ask for? Because if we're studying for the ACT or the I can't pronounce the other one test. The
Praxis, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So do we just go in there and just tell them what we're just studying for and they can help us out with it?
Yes. So, and it's going to depend on what you need help with. So some people might be stronger in math and science and need more help with writing. So the Learning Resource Center, we help with math and science, and then the Writing Center can help with reading and writing and essays. So if you need help with both, that's not a problem. Just make an appointment with both centers and we can help you that way. But the Writing Center is totally online right now. So I would recommend calling or emailing them to make your appointment with them. And when you do that appointment, it'll be through Zoom. Just, I don't know if I clarified that or not, but you can do appointments through them. It'll just be like we're doing right now.
Okay, so I see a question in the chat, Sam. A student asked for the ACT residual, where do you go to sign up for taking the test? That's a really great question. We can link that to y'all, or I can also provide that to you. But if you were to just look at APSU Testing Center, there is a residual area and there's a direct link. So the link for that is through Awesome P's website. It's not going to be that external website that Sam was saying for the Praxis. If you need help with that, I think I'm kind of looking who you are. Feel free to email me and I can also send you that link as well. But it would be directly through our testing center that you would sign up for it. And just in regards to the ACT and Praxis, I want to let y'all know you are not alone in taking it. It's not uncommon for students to have to retake the ACT, or maybe the first time this is their, taking the ACT, or possibly choosing the Praxis. It can sometimes feel like an isolating experience, or for others have really high test anxiety that it's kind of like doomed, that you're thinking that, oh my gosh, I have to do this one thing. But you're definitely not alone in that journey. And Sam, myself, and other people are here to support you to ensure that you are definitely going to get into the teacher education program and fulfill your dream of becoming a teacher. So the fact that you're in this little workshop right now just proves that you are committed and you're thinking about it, and we can prepare well in advance. I'm kind of looking at who we are in the session, and ultimately we have almost a whole year for most of you to kind of start studying here and there, maybe once every few months here, or doing this type of the section on this date, and slowly working up to that competency. So while you do go to take that exam, like Sam was saying, not only have you prepared, but we've done those study assessments to really measure where you're at. Oh, there you go. Yeah, and Sam put the link in there. So awesome. Thanks, Sam.
You are welcome. I thought I might be muted again for a second. Before I email you this, let's see, before I email this paper to you, this handout, I'm going to go ahead and share it here so that you can see what it looks like. See if I can get this up here. There we go. Okay, can you all see that? So we've got some resources at the top, test improvement resources, and that's through the College of Education website. And they have links to ACT Academy, the Tennessee Praxis, and Praxis 1 and Praxis Core are the same thing. So if you see those terms used, they're interchangeable. And then there are practice tests, which is a tongue twister. Dr. Charles Gonzalez, you can check out practice books through him, or Deanna Morris, either one. And then so there's the official Praxis Core Preparation website. And then we have this great resource now called thetestcamp.com. And it is Praxis Preparation. So it's actually free for you to use. What you're going to use is enter this code, and that'll discount it $30. So it'll show that it costs $30. And then once you enter that code, it'll be free. It's a great resource. It has practice questions for each portion of the exam to help you prepare. So that's a good way to take those, to get an idea of how you're doing on that. And then you can bring those results with you to your session with a peer tutor if you want a little bit more help. So that has information about that. And then the back has some information about ACT prep. So this is through our library. You would just go to this link. And it also has online ACT preparation tests there to help you practice. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have information about peer tutoring. So like I said, if you need math and science support, that's through the Learning Resource Center. English reading and writing is through the Writing Center. And then if you click on this website right here, it will take you to Academia, which is our scheduling software, and you can make an appointment for the ACT or Praxis through that. So like I said, I will email that out. Yes, Ella, I will send that out to everyone right after our meeting so that you have a copy. And then no problem. And then I'll also send a link to a feedback survey. It's really short, I promise. And you can let us know, what else you would like to see covered. And there's also a link there. If you're interested in studying with other people for the test, you can sign up there and see if, AJ and I have talked about maybe starting some study groups to get people together working on this. And so there's an option where you can indicate if you'd rather do that virtually or in person. COVID is still a concern, so it's no problem. We can set up some virtual sessions that way. So do you have any other questions for us today, or is there anything else that we can do to help you with your education journey?
To pay for the ACT, can we do that in cash or money order? Because what if, like my job right now, our hours have been reduced highly because of COVID. So I ain't gonna be working much and making much. So when is the deadline for us to pay for the ACT so we could have time?
That is a good question. So on the exam registration page, there is a phone number for the testing center, and Cindy Ellis is our testing coordinator. She's fantastic. So if you want to call that number, unfortunately, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I know that she would be able to give you an answer to that. And I can include that number here in the chat as well so that you have it.
And the
Okay,
other thing too, just to kind of keep in mind with that, Brittany, when you pay, it's also when you're setting up your date. So it's nothing that you have to pay like way in advance if you're not sure when you're taking your, in this case, possibly the ACT assessment. So like hypothetically, let's say you want to take your first assessment sometime at the end of spring semester, so maybe like March, April timeframe. The dates that you can choose from for the ACT residual test are listed on APSU's testing center website. And when you go to sign up is kind of when you make that payment. So it's not anything that you necessarily have to prepay in advance or anything. It's definitely when you're picking your date. And then as Sam has said, if there is anything where maybe we have to accommodate a different payment plan, Cindy Ellis, our testing coordinator, and the testing center can definitely work with you and see what your options are.
Okay, well, thank you. And another good question, when is the deadline to sign up to take the test?
So it depends on the person, where you're at and meeting your transition points. The ACT and the Praxis score is necessary for transition point 2, which is going to be kind of that time frame when someone is taking intro to special education. So if someone's doing, hypothetically, of course, maybe intro to special education this coming spring semester, then ultimately in order to move forward in the program, we need to have that minimum score no later than August, 2021 at the very latest. We try to do it in the same semester intro to special education. So in this hypothetical situation, it would be maybe May, but we know, if you need extra time or maybe someone needs to do a possible retest, as long as we get it before the fall semester starts, when you pick up more classes again, then that would be okay. So if someone has like questions about when specifically they need to have a hard deadline, so to speak, for them, just reach out to me, or if I'm not your advisor, reach out to your advisor and they can kind of let you know what that time frame looks like.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
I'm glad you were here for that one, AJ.
Yeah, and it can be tricky. We have some students who, maybe they're not in their first or the foundations education class, which is Education 2100. If you're someone who's taking that class in the spring and you're not doing SPED 2300 until the fall, then you have even longer. You'll probably have until December of 2021. So that's what I was saying. Everybody's kind of case by case where they're at, but we try to prepare you guys well in advance to just feel like you have a sense of control on your study preparation, how long you have to take it, any possible retakes. We don't want this to feel like another assessment where you're going to be overwhelmed and think that you're going to do poorly. Sam and I really hope that we can just provide you as much support as possible so you go in there feeling pretty confident and that you're going to get into the teacher education program. Is there any other questions that y'all might have that Sam or I can assist with?
Okay. I don't see any other in the chat. Okay, so that will conclude our session for today. Like I said, I'm going to send out this paper to your emails that you registered for this session with, and I'll send out a link to our feedback survey where you can also sign up for a study group if you're interested in doing that. And then I'm hoping that I think I'm going to post this workshop on our Learning Resource Center webpage, and I'll share it with the College of Education as well. That way, if you know of someone who wanted to attend today and they couldn't, then they can view this as well. So I appreciate you all coming. If you think of any questions after the fact, because I know that happens all the time, that's no problem. Feel free to just respond to the email that I send out, and I'll make sure that I get you an answer, or that, or I'll refer you to AJ if she would be a better source of information. So, all right. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome, and y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Brittany.